Welcome, everybody, to the Oceanside Library Poets Near and Afar here on December 19th, 2022. We have with us here a local poet, an author, and we have our guest, Josephine from Calgary. And we thank everybody for participating, and we welcome you all, and happy holidays to everybody. And so without any further ado, Josephine.
Thanks, everybody. It's an honor to be here. The connection was through Hiram LaRue, who I met through some of the online reading communities. And he said, hey, you should send an email to Tony. And so it's great to be here. And I recognize two people in the room, I think Ron and Diane. So it's a little bit intimidating reading and sharing with people that I don't know, but I've never had a negative experience with sharing my poetry.
This is a very kind group, and we look very much forward to this. So
okay,
you don't have to worry about it.
Thank you.
No booing.
No booing. Okay, good. So I live in Calgary, which is the ancestral and traditional lands which were inhabited and traversed by a number of different Indigenous groups. Calgary is in Alberta, just north of Montana, and the groups that are Indigenous to this area are the Piikani, Siksika, Kainai, Nakota, and Tsuut'ina. I would like to acknowledge them and thank them for having brought culture, language, and poetry to the land. Putting together a set was a little bit nerve-wracking because there's been some big changes in my life. So some of the poems are based on my family, and the biggest thing that happened was I lost my father this year at the age of 90. So I will give a warning that there will be some things that are some poems that have to deal with my grief. But I'll start on a lighter note with rhetorical questions. I asked the universe, now? It said, no, wait, why not now? Why does the earth continue to turn despite the sinking of the polar caps? Why do we see only the one face of the moon? Is the other ashamed by our travesty? Why do planets revolve around the sun, and why doesn't one break free to start its own trajectory? I would. Why are there nebulae, or is that a nebulous question? Why does mankind, regardless of country and continent of origin, create tales to explain the relative position of the stars? Would I have a different zodiac if I were born in Southern Hemisphere? And why do the hands of their clocks not run counterclockwise the way their water circles the drain? If I am who I am because of the hour and place of my birth, why aren't there more like me? Are there more like me? And why do questions seem more important in the dark? Why are we not winter oxygen starved? With lack of leaves, why can we not breathe in water? Why have we no wings? Is language a blessing or a curse? Why are these bodies so ill-prepared for life outside? No fur to keep us warm, no leather on our feet. And why are there no new mythologies? My second piece was inspired by a little passage from Leonard Cohen. There was a collection published posthumously, and what I remember hearing from the prompt was, when I wake up into panic. And so that's what I used for this poem called Into Panic. When I wake up into panic, my heart racing, my mind blank, I reach for your slender collection. The first book of my New Testament, open at random, certain that you and the nameless gods of Revelation will know what I crave. Like a cigarette, I strike a match to your words, inhale deep, letting the burn light a path to my stone soul. Your voice gravelly smooth, like a hand sliding between silken thighs, like tulips picked too early, set in a tall blue vase, set in southern window, waiting for warmth and water to coax them into bloom. And the next poem is called Wild Sky. You are electrons, protons, I am sparking off the sun. You are escaping gravity. I am thrown out of troposphere by rotation. You are hurtling towards Earth. I am thinner at polar caps. You are colliding with my atmosphere. I am igniting into color, into dance. Most of the charged particles deflected, but when you kiss me, you become my oxygen. You are lights dancing. I am wild sky. And the next piece, thank you, is called Oblivion. And I heard a passage by a Russian-born poet who's now living in Edmonton, which is 3 hours north of Calgary. And the little piece that I took for my prompt is, I whisper into your ear, so you hear and do not hear. And my poem is called Oblivion. I whisper in your ear, so you hear and do not hear. Our rhythms fill the pauses in our breath. Rhyme entwines us like a villanelle. In the ruby light of lamp oil, I stand before you loosely, concealed only by the shimmer of a veil. The curves of my country, the rise and the dip, and the long, slow valley, where the weight and the warmth of your hand once summoned me from sleep. I pour into your glass sweet drops of lethe. We shed our skin and swim beneath the substance of a dream. So I'm going to change gears now, and this one is called Dreams of the Dead. My grandmother is a hydrangea, petals pressed close. She opens in blue splendor. My grandfather, a bull trout, slow moving, waters murky. And what of Alex, you may ask? In one dream, the Ficus benjaminus turns to butterflies. His lopsided smile, his bangs flipped to one side, thoughts deep, wings open into poetry. In another dream, beetles and roaches cover the floor. And this morning, lashes fall as I rub sleep from my eyes. I can no longer see myself in the glass. The next one is kind of a true story, thank you. And the first time I wrote it, I included everybody's name, and my sister who lives in Italy said I should not name people. So I've taken out most of the names, but the facts remain true. It's got a long title. No one in my family has died a simple death. My father's grandfather was a wick, the oil in his headlamp igniting when a vein opened in the sulfur mine. 4 men carried his char home to die. My mother's mother was the breath after blowing out a candle. Thick black hair in a high bun, but weak of lungs, no medicine to cure her. My mother's father is a mystery. Is there a gravestone, a church record, a name on a ship's manifest? Freckles, eyes of blue or green like the sea. Those are the greats and grands I never met. My father's father was a glass of water crashing to the floor. He died once, but was buried twice, once in the ground at Mount Pleasant, and then later in a drawer in a concrete wall in the old Sicilian style. My father's mother was a plume of smoke. She faded in stages, stroke taking away her ability to walk, to eat, to recognize. By the time her heart stopped, I had grieved her 100 times over. My father is a cat on life 6 or 7. Heart attack, prostate cancer, testicular cancer, coal mine lungs, airport collapse. They science fictioned him, cauterizing tissue around his heart, scar not conveying the impulse to live. Now ischemia constricts the vessels in his brain. How are you, he asks. And the kids? And the weather? And the kids? My mother is a wristwatch with broken hands. She tricks death by believing herself invincible, tosses an enchantment of salt onto black ice. We watch her decline, gears and springs seized and stuck, losing her piece by piece. They say you die twice. According to Bansky, once when you stop breathing, the second, the last time someone says your name. Myself, Josephine, Leah, Lorraine, how will I go? Will I fight death, or will I walk headlong into that slow-moving river, willow branch above me, swaying in the wind? So I wanted to share one that is the story of my parents. Thank you. My parents had a very complicated relationship that I didn't really understand. So this one is called The Smell of Sawdust. The smell of sawdust on his clothes and in his hair and in his pores, the roughness of his hands and the breadth of his suntanned back, the darkness of his eyes under lashes thick, dark, she pale and fair, hazel eyes, auburn hair, he profound, his proclamations meant to be absolute, she shrill and reigning over us nonetheless. The bathroom he built in the basement of our 3-story house where so many rooms were just for company, just for show. He, my father, a deep pool, and she a rushing torrent, a thunderstorm, and she would hurl words that hurt the air around our ears. So many things unsaid, stories we never learned until we were grown, her mother dying young, leaving 5 children behind, her father dead or gone, rumors whispered, her brother taking her into work, boiling water carried in from village fountain to wash the diapers of his infant child. The letters that my father sent, taken away, hidden by her brother's wife behind the mirror of the dresser. How she became betrothed to another, believing my father had forgotten her. My father's father and my father's brother going to ask why she wasn't writing back. Those were different times. And when I asked why their love was not officially declared before my father left to mine the cold heart of Belgium, I was told they were too young. He had no diamond, for her finger no gold, and their promise was to keep them until he could come to claim her as his bride. All of this I never knew, for I was but a child, but some evenings he would sit upon a backless stool in the basement of our house, smelling of pined plane, hands rough with work, fatigue heavy on his shoulders, and she would kneel before him, lift his feet one by one from the basin in which they soaked, wash them and towel them dry, and he would look upon her softly. And I could feel, but still not comprehend, the ties that went beyond their words. Okay, we're coming into the, thank you, we're coming into the dark ones now. Leaves of gold and birch strewn on kitchen floor. How do they get in? The sliding door left open for the cat, or was it the caramel silk of the sheltie who has lain in the lawn? They swirl at the foot of the front steps, reconfigure luminesce on a carpet of grass that should have died under first fall of snow, but didn't. These golden leaves, this sacred space, this pagan place, translucence, ancestors seeking solace, walk alongside us in shadow. All leaves, soon, too soon, my being will transmute to memory. My spirit will swirl in splendor, appearing inexplicably at someone else's golden door. The next piece I wrote, I visited, thank you. I visited with my parents 2 weeks in July, and before I left, I knew that things were very bad. My dad was suffering, and he knew it as well, and we said a final goodbye. And I wrote this when he was still alive, and the prompt came from a poem called Reluctance by Robert Frost, and I'll read the passage from Robert Frost. Ah, when to the heart of man was it ever less than treason to go with the drift of things, to yield with a grace to reason and bow and accept the end of a love or a season? My poem is called To Sit Quietly. Ah, such treason to sit quietly with death, to not shake his cold grip from my arm, to know he waits expectant in the hall, my father's ragged exhalation tainted by his breath. My father's face grown gaunt, teeth missing from his skull, fingers spectral, and sometimes his gaze dimmed, as if he sees us only from afar. A figment of himself, wavering between this realm and next, like bedsheets waving in the wind. Photographs bring heaves and tears as he recalls the young man he once was. He moans in his sleep and he talks in his dreams. Emaciated legs no longer hold his withered frame. He winces when I tend his wounds, but brightens when I say his name. And I think death must mean no great harm, for 90 is a long time on this earth. So I no longer resent the tender touch of that which I no longer dread. But oh, what anguish to sit quietly with death and not shake his cold grip from my arm. Do I have time for one more? Yeah, okay. So this one was written after my father passed. I kept going into the poetry circles because I found my solace there. And the prompt was to pick a time of day and then to write an autobiography using as many details as possible. And what I didn't realize is that the instructor had a straight time. So I was given 9:30, which was the time, my time in Toronto, because that's where my family lives. So the poem is called 9:30. It is 9:30. My body says sleep. My mind says rest. My heart steps out into the night, leaving the door wide open in search of the call of coyotes. If I had a slingshot and 7 smooth stones, 5 smooth stones, even 3, I would pluck the streetlights from the sky, one by one, so that all that would be left would be the cold moon and me. I no longer care about the stars. Their stories no longer matter. The chatter of man, the warmth of fire in fields, none of it. There is a place in my father's garden, a bower of fig, and when I stood in it, sunlight filtered through various spots, as if our sky held multiple suns. That was the day after my father died. It is 9:34. I looked at the clock and noticed when 24 hours had slipped by after his death. He passed at 00:18. Time has become an accordion with only sad strains stretching out and tumbling past. It has been 6 days since he passed, 30 hours since his cold body was jacklifted into a moth, sealed with putty and trowel and drill. My father had a trowel just like that. He too used tools, and I'd gone down to the garage into one of those balsa wood baskets that once held summer tomatoes, tucked one of my father's tools into my tote for the funeral home, in case I needed to feel him. A wrench, and I tucked a few nails into the pocket of his best suit, some loose change, and he always had nails in his pocket when he worked, a carpenter, like the Father of Christ. Nails and coins sometimes fell from his pockets when he lay down to nap. And when I was tasked with vacuuming the couch cushions on a Saturday morning, I would find them. Quarters and pennies and nickels and dimes, and always a pencil tucked behind his ear, a smile on his face as broad and as brilliant as the Sicilian sky. It is now 9:38. I felt his spirit surround me while his lungs still expanded and emptied, and his pacemakered heart still beat, his hands still warm. That was before his forehead felt like he had just been taken from deep freeze. When I brought my lips to his brow in the casket, I cupped his head with both hands. He didn't like to be cold. Gumóllame, he implored. Cover me, please. He asked so little of me at the end. His spirit hovering just past 4 that afternoon, my kids coming in from their day-long travel, me at the entrance of the hospital breathing real air for the first time in days. I felt him and felt his peace, and if I sit quiet for a moment, I can still feel it. But will it fade like the taste of salt in the sea, the aroma of coffee, that hug that feels like it could go on forever if only we could stand still enough? I do not know. It is 9:42. Thank you. I have more of uplifting one if you'd like, or we can end there. I'm terrible with time.
You're okay. If you have one more, that'd be fine.
Okay, thank you.
We're certainly enjoying them.
Oh, thank you. Solstice is coming in just a minute, and I wrote this a few years ago. Solstice song. Bury me in ashes, bury me in bone, bury me in mountain land 1,000 miles from home. Bury me the depth of my heights, the width of my wonderment and want. Toss yellowed roses onto fresh dug mound. Let each poet stand and utter one syllable, unspeakable truth. For I have lived my seasons each, daffodil, iris, spring, splashed in summer lake, worn crown of buttercup, carpet of auburn leaves underfoot, under slate storm sky. And now I come into my winter, each day shorter, each night deeper, and the air stings my cheek, burns my lung. Within walls of wood and stone do I retreat to fire's glow, pull covers close, winter, an invitation to dream, infinite possibility of night, memories, reveries, reflections, ruminations, circle growing smaller, encompassing only my flesh, my soul. Lodged within me deep, the seeds of yesteryear, child, student, au pair girl, wife, teacher, mother, poet, lover. This winter, though, is not to be my last, my trunk not withered, my roots run deep in rich brown ground, my branches still bear fruit, and the secret of bee in blossom whispers yet within. And in this moment, when the southern third basks in golden light, now is our star-filled night, snow reflecting moon's blue glow, muted hush, beside ember I find refuge. And soon, oh soon, the axis will tilt as we journey closer to the glorious face of the sun. But until that moment comes, bury me in ashes, bury me in bone, bury me in mountain land 1,000 miles from home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. It really, really was a pleasure. Thank you very, very much.
My pleasure.
All right. So let me get here, move the spotlight. All right. So again, I would remind anybody, if you do not want to be in the open read, in the open mic, just please throw it into the meeting chat. We thank thank you, Josephine, for joining us. Really, really special. Appreciate it very much. All right. Next up, here from Long Island, our poet near, A.A. Rubin.
Hey guys, how are you? Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep, we're all good.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Josephine. That was wonderful. My name is A.A. Rubin. If you've seen me read before, you may not recognize me. I usually wear a fedora, but you know, these headphones and Zoom just doesn't work. But I am the same person, and if it's your first time, then great as well. All right, I'm going to get started with a kind of funny poem I wrote recently. It's called Ars Poetica, A-R-S-E, Ars Poetica. Hope you like it. My poetry is all amiss. My meter's off. My rhymes a mess. My metaphors are regular, round pegs and jammed rectangular. My similes are like, well, fails. Is there a cure to fix what ails this limpid, languid, lacking verse? Alliteration, it's the worst. I cannot write, oh dear, oh dear. I've lost my muse, it's clear, I fear. I trip all o'er my metrical feet, which makes my rhyme sound incomplete. My stresses have me stressing out, and though I can't forget about it, my rhymes, they slant so far they fall, I should have left them in the vault. A caesura here to interlope. Is there a volta soon? I hope. Or is there nothing in these lines, snaked round each other serpentine, contorted for the sake of craft, devoid of meaning, choked and daft? Howbeit now, what's past is past. We reach the end, alas, at last. That was, kind of a funny one just to start. It goes over well in live readings. It's hard to see if it's working on Zoom. The next one I'm going to read is called The Widow's Walk. And I grew up in Queens. I lived most of my life in Manhattan. And we moved out here to Long Island a few years ago when my daughter was 3, before my son was born. We've been out here about 6 years now. And one of the things that I noticed when I moved out here were the big old Victorian houses. And a lot of them, especially by me, I'm in East Williston and sort of up towards the North Shore, we have these widow's walks on the top of the houses. And I've found out eventually what they really were for they said the sailors' wives seeing the ships, watching for their husbands coming home on the ships. But I heard a number of stories before I got the true story, combined with what was in my imagination. So this is called The Widow's Walk, and it's written kind of in the style of a 19th century poem. It was in an anthology called Love Letters to Poe. Big fan of Poe. So this is The Widow's Walk. She wends her way around her walk, and round she goes. She does not speak, she does not talk, as she wends her way around her walk, and round she goes, and round she goes. Her husband's dead, her husband's gone, he died, alack the day. They will not let her into town. They built a walk for her to round, because he's gone away, because he's gone away. The widow wends her way around and round her home. The children watch her as they play. They make up stories every day about the witch who eats their bones. She eats young children's bones. Her husband does not know he's dead. He follows round and round. He whispers nothing's in her ear. He does not know, she cannot hear. He's buried in the ground. He's buried underground. The widow wanders round and round, neath pale Hecate's moon. She conjures spirits in the dark, up on her walk above the park. In the night's dark inky gloom, it's gloom. In the night's dark inky gloom. Are any of these stories true? Forsooth, we cannot say. We can't by any magic art divine what's in her secret heart. Her mind we can't assay. Her mind we can't assay. But still we all do dream of her each and every night. She sends us nightmares while we sleep. Demons conjured from the deep. In the moon's faint pale light, it's light. In the moon's faint pale light. She wends her way around her walk, and round she goes. She does not speak, she does not talk, as she wends her way around her walk, and round she goes, and round she goes. So that was The Widow's Walk. Next, I'm going to try something, and I hope that it works. Everyone talks about the disadvantages of a Zoom reading as opposed to an in-person reading, and I agree. I'd rather be there with you. But I do have a new book out. It's called Into That Darkness Peering, and it's a little different from other poetry books in that it's a book of illustrated poetry. So if I can share my screen, you'll see the kind of things that I'm talking about.
Yep, you're a co-host, so go
Yep.
right ahead.
Okay, so I will try this. So let's see if this works. Can you guys see that? See the illustration and thing? So
Yes.
this is, yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. So this book, Into That Darkness Peering, it's written by me. It's illustrated by a very talented illustrator. Her name is Marika Bruciano. If you read my bio, you know that in addition to writing poetry, I also write comics, and I know her from the comics world. And this is something we did together. I would give her a poem. I gave her 32 poems, and she illustrated each one of them. We started it a couple of years ago during Inktober, which is a challenge that artists have where they post an ink drawing every day during the month of October. And we liked them so much that we expanded it into this book. And continuing along the theme with the last one, you may know that even though in this country we tend to think of Gothic horror as a Halloween thing, in the older English tradition, winter is actually the time for ghost stories. Goes back to Shakespeare, and everybody knows A Christmas Carol. There's a long tradition of ghost stories on around this time of year. So the first one I'm going to read, it's up on the screen now. It's called Last Request. Please let me be a ghost, if only for one night. I've got no need to haunt someone, no need to set things right. But if you let me be a ghost, down to the earth I'll fly and seek to find the one I love, just to say goodbye. Okay, I'm going to try to, sorry, if I can scroll through here. Second. Oh, I see. Sorry, the window is in the place where I have to scroll. Check that beforehand. Let's see. Okay. We can do. Ooh. Yeah, that's the one I want. All right. This one is called The Wolf in Me. This one is in this book, and it was also in the Nassau County Voices in Verse. Came out last year. The Wolf in Me. I see the full moon out tonight, and I'm transformed by its glow. My lycanthropic change has come, though seeing me, you'd never know. No fur does from my skin spring forth, no baying sound, no thirsty howl. Need I scream to my Celine, though this night I'm on the prowl. My insights now, though art a wolf, my brain, my mind, my guts, my heart. Tonight I hunt with Artemis, transfigured by her lunar art. My prey, he never sees me come, my camouflage is so complete. Not until he feels the bite of my elongated canine teeth. I will do, I think, 2 more from this book. This is called A Monster Lives Inside of Me. Another one that I had previously published that I ended up including in this collection because it kind of fit the theme. A monster lives inside of me, deep inside my heart. You think those lines are figurative, but really, they are not. He will not ever kill me. He needs my warmth to live, but he feeds upon my spirit and bends my will to his. I can't hold out much longer. I can't his will deny. Somebody try to save me. Please heed my final cry. And actually, this book is not only poetry, it's has flash fiction as well. I want to read just one of them, even though it's a poetry reading. It's the one that opens the book, and partly because I just love Marika's illustration so much on it. I just couldn't show you the book without showing this one. This one is called The Wishing Well. A forest so verdant, it must be enchanted. An old well so deep she could not see the bottom. A wish made in haste, a coin thrown in anger. Later, from the comfort of her home, she hoped it wouldn't come true. But deep down, she knew it was too late. So that's from Into That Darkness Peering. Again, my new book. It is on, you can get it on Amazon, a number of other places. Great. If you like ghost stories, if you like, there we go. Sorry to get off that. If you like ghost stories, if you like Gothic horror, that type of thing, I would encourage you to check it out. All right, I'm going to read just a couple of more because I think I have time. I'll transition out of the Gothic horror with one last poem. It's called Moonlight Sonnet. So this is Moonlight Sonnet. When I gaze up at its dark inky gloom, the sky reflects my sorrows back at me. Like the vampire's victim, I'm fit to swoon, surrendering to my melancholy. The burdens heavy of my working day weigh down on me and hang like darkening clouds, which hide the bright orb's stately face away, obscured by night's aphotic murky shroud. But with the glimmer of her tender light, a sliver of hope in my heart doth grow, waxing gibbous, though not yet full tonight, beneath Celine's benevolent pale glow. Like the werewolf by her light transformed, by moonlight myself to me's restored. Some little formal sonnet, and now I will try to, for the last couple, end on a bit of a lighter note. Okay, so this one's an interesting one. I was selected for this one as the local poet. So this is one that, another one like the Widow's Walk, that's very much inspired by something here on Long Island. I know it's the Oceanside Library. You guys are on the South Shore. But up here, I don't know if you've been to the Clark Botanic Garden. It's a little botanic garden they have in Albertson, about a mile away from where I live in East Williston. This one is called To Mark the Spot Where We First Met. I was reading some Byron in the park, and this is what I came up with afterwards. To mark the spot where we first met. To mark the spot where we first met, we carved our name into a tree, and even though our love did fade, that mark lives on eternally. And every day when I walk by, that tree by me is surely seen. My eyes are drawn unto that mark, reminding me what could have been. Though years have passed and time goes on, and much I've learned of love and art, I can't refine that innocence, the pure passion that filled my heart. But as that tree does grow in age, our names will rise as they live on, a monument to first true love, when both of us are dead and gone. Oh, each time. All right. Yeah, I'll do this one next. This one is called The Patchwork Man. He patched up his roof, he patched up his door, he patched up his walls, his ceilings, his floor, he patched up his house, he patched up his blouse, the patchwork man in the patchwork house. He even tried to patch up his soul, but he only covered the rot and the mold, which festered and grew until he got old. And you know what? Here's one I wanted to see. Here's one I wanted to try. This one is most of these are published. You see me holding up my books and things like that. This one is a new poem. This is one I'm still workshopping. It doesn't have a title yet. I don't know if it's any good or not. This is the one I'm working on now. I think there's something there, but we'll see. I wanted to try it out. The beetle had 1,000 eyes, the hummingbird 1,000 ears, and lo, I found to my surprise 1,000 strands in fox's beard. The bees, they had 1,000 tongues, which whispered softly in the hive, a song of sorrow softly sung, lamenting their unhappy lives. The beetle cried 10,000 tears, the hummingbird now flew away. The fox its thousand hairs did the fox its thousand hairs did tear, as I in sorrow cursed the day. And though now many years have gone, and I have traveled where I will, I can't forget those solemn tones, and thus the sound, it haunts me still. So I think it might need one more stanza. We'll see. All right. I think I have time for maybe 2 or 3 more. Is that right? About this length, about 2 or 3 more. All right.
Yeah, you're fine on time.
Okay. So I will then, I'll do this one. It's the holiday season. Here's a poem about something. If you have kids, you may have seen this character around your house. You may be as suspicious of him as I am. A most unhappy elf. I do not feel quite like myself. My legs too long, my elbows bumped. Each winter I am sorely thumped. This must be rotten for my health. Though I am stuck here on my shelf, I long to run through forest fair, to loose my arrows in the air. I am a most unhappy elf. Though it be rotten for my health, I stay and watch the children play, to see if they've been good or nay, from my perch upon the shelf. I jump in darkness from my shelf. At night I'm free to move about. As long as I don't ever shout, I'm free to be much more myself. As long as I return myself before the sunrise starts to glow, frozen in a new tableau like a wooden store-bought elf. At night I slip down from my shelf and point my arrows at their beds, for if I'd shoot their pretty heads, from my curse I'd free myself. This must be rotten for my health. As much as I may plot and scheme, my fantasy is but a dream throughout my day upon my shelf. For though I'm an unhappy elf, my conscience cannot murder bear, and so this night I must forbear and slink back up upon my shelf. I am a most unhappy elf, for thus my urge to kill is quelled, and I remained here in this hell, in my spot upon the shelf, until I'm put back in the dark, well, till next year my box is parked. This must be rotten for my health. I am a most unhappy elf. So there you go. Let's see. I'll read one that's a little bit similar to the first one I read, but it's more in the lost my place here. Oh, yes, more in the sonnet form. Similar idea to the first one. Another poem about poetry. They tell you not to do that, by the way. They tell you you're going to have a hard time publishing it, but done it a couple of times. This one is called Anniversary Sonnet. Some poets against the sonnet form do rail, as creativity they say it mars. Their poetic license they claimed assailed by tradition metered and measured bars. To capture passion and proclaim true love, no antiquated formal rules are meet. Their verse free to soar the skies above, stead of tripping o'er iambic feet. But I have never felt my love confined by giving up my liberty to you. My affection rather has been refined. Myself, my soul do grow through love so true. And thus these 14 rhyming lines do sing of love we consecrated with our rings. So there you go. And I'll do one more sonnet. I wrote a lot of sonnets a couple of years ago during the pandemic. If you remember, Patrick Stewart had that series where he was reading all of Shakespeare's sonnets, and I was listening to him every day. And the form kind of got in my head, and I ended up writing a bunch for it. This is something that I hope you guys can relate to. If you're of a certain age, you'll relate to it. It's called the Sonnet for the First Gray Hair. When I a single silver strand did spy beneath my frown, betwixt my tawny beard, my reflection betrayed a subtle sigh. for the moment had come, which long I'd feared. A symbol 'twas of my advancing age, a sentinel signaling more to come. Like Dante traveling on his first page, I realized half my days had run. But when you saw that gray upon my face, you seemed to respect me a little more. A wise man now, possessed of stately grace, future Merlin, Gandalf, or Dumbledore. What magic then in a reflection new, who sees from a different point of view. So there you go. I have a couple more. How much time do I have, Tony? So I stepped in here.
You have time for a couple more, no problem.
Couple more. Okay. All right. I'll read two more then. One longer one and a shorter one. This one is very different. You see, most of the stuff I've been reading have been formal, some closed forms like sonnets and that thing. This one is a little bit different than that. Okay. This one is called The Substance in the Shadow. I am that for which you have been searching. I am that which you have always been afraid to find. I am the monster under the bed. I am the spirits of your dead. I am heavier than lead. I am the space between the stars. The universe we inhabit is expanding, but not as fast as it should go, at least according to your scientists. They posit the existence of dark matter. They say it must be there, even though they can't find it. They say it can't be seen. They couldn't be more wrong, not about its existence, but about its visibility. I am the missing mass. I am the dark matter. You'll never see me with your fancy telescopes, but you've seen me all your life, faintly flickering out of the corner of your eye. I am every ghost and goblin you've dreamt up in your overactive childlike imagination, every spook and ghoul, every phantasm haunting every dark enchanted forest. I am the shadow shifting. I am the monster in your closet. I am the thing under the stairs. I am the reason you're afraid of the dark. Your rational men and women need to define me, to analyze me, to understand me. They seek to know me, but I am unknowable. However, I am not unknown. You do not recognize me, but you have seen me when you weren't looking, maybe even when your eyes were closed. I am your constant companion when your rational mind tells you you're all alone in the dark. I am that uneasy feeling that knows you're not. I am the monster you fear becoming when you gaze into the abyss. Your scientific minds argue about my nature. They debate whether I'm hot or cold. In truth, I am both. I am the heat at the back of your neck. I am the chill running down your spine. I am the string about which you theorize, the elastic binding the cosmos together, stretching to its limit, ready to snap everything back to its source. I am the uncomfortable silence. I am the unspoken intention. I am what is left unsaid. You try to classify me as baryonic or non-baryonic. You'd be better off reading Byronic poetry. I am comprehensible not through figures, but through figurative language, not through models, but through metaphor. Add up the weight of every monster ever imagined, not just on your world, but on every planet throughout the universe. From the day of the Big Bang until the present, measure the mass of every myth, enumerate the number of every demon, try to comprehend the true magnitude of what I am. You are fond of saying your fear holds you back. I am the sum of your fears, the sum of all your fears, the sum of everyone's fears, ever. The force of my gravity is tugging at the universe. The force of your stories are slowing its expansion. I am the weight of your collective subconscious. I am the voice from the bottom of the black hole. You hear me calling in the silence between the lightning and the thunder. Soon creation will reverse and start sinking back in my direction. The light will go out of the cosmos, suck back to the center. There I will be waiting, lurking, proclaiming the end of everything from the place it all began. I am the nothing, but I am everything. All right. So I guess I will give you one more.
Yeah, one short one because
One short one.
we're over
Okay.
now.
All right. Very, very short one. I will go back to the, yeah, I'll go back to this and I will give you the last poem in this book. So I'll give you a really, really short one. Here we go. All right. Really, really short. This one's called Gone But Not Forever. I'd like to sign out with this one. It's the last one from my book. Like the tide that's rolling outward, like the moon that sets at dawn, I am gone but not forever. I shall return anon. Thank you guys. Hope you
Wonderful.
enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. There we go. Thank you so much. Everybody can unmute themselves and give a nice round to Josephine and to AA. Two wonderful readings. I don't know if Mr. Stone was a friend or not, but he's been removed from the room.
All right. I don't know.
Was that a buddy?
I have no idea. I had it on the full. I couldn't see anything.
Yeah. Okay.
I have
A John Stone.
John's. I've never heard of that person.
Okay, so we decided. It's funny. We've been doing this now for over 2 years, and this is only assuming that was a Zoom bomb. That was only the second one the library's had in the entire time.
Right.
So it is what it is. So, but great readings. Really appreciate it very much. And now we're going to do the open mic. If you do not want to be in the open mic, please let me know in the chat. And the way that we do this is I will name somebody and then tell somebody that they're on deck, which for non-sports fans means you're up next. So we're going to start with Robert Dean and Ron Bremer, you're on deck.
Oh, I'm first. Okay. Question 20. Can I do share screen?
Sure.
Okay.
Just remind everybody that we keep these to non-epic length poems.
Yeah.
But Robert, I certainly will, as soon as I can find you here, make you a co-host. There you are.
Okay. Are y'all seeing a photo of a telephone? An old
No,
telephone?
no, we're seeing you.
No. Oh, okay. I got it. Hit that. Okay. Now you should have it.
It's coming up.
You get a telephone on your screen there?
Not yet. There we go. Yes, now we have it.
Okay. I'm writing a series of poems to photographs by a really excellent poet from Pittsburgh named Jason Baldinger, who happens to also like to go around the country and take black and white photos of out of the way places and kind of things that are falling apart. And I just love his photos. And so I'm writing a series to his photos. This is one of them. This was recently published in the Fast Week Review. The name he just titles this photo by the location. And this is Walkersville, West Virginia, if any of you know where that is. The poem is called The Hang Up. They hear it in Ohio, Pennsylvania, the cotton fields of the Llano Estacado, the Gatorlands of South Florida, the bottom of Crater Lake, tsunami warnings siren across the Pacific, 3 mountains in the Hindu Kush implode, blood stains your connection to civilization. You didn't know Bake Lake could cut so deep. It's 1983 and she's told you don't call her again, no matter if you're lost in the woods in Hicksville or wherever, falling off a cliff. Sinking in quicksand, goodbye.
What the fuck up, Robert?
Good God, hasn't she had enough, haven't you? And here you are, 4 decades, 3 divorces, 2 heart attacks, 6 grandkids later, a middle of nowhere return, sanity hanging by a thread. You wish you could pick it up, put it back together, punch the right numbers, say, I'm sorry. Wondering, isn't life funny how you found it again? How this thing is still here? Your anger, your hang up, if only you'd know. Leaves rustle, wind blusters in the open window. You start the car, head for the interstate. That lunatic asylum you saw on Weston. Shuttered now, tourists and ghost hunters only. Poems of the lost tattooed on therapy room walls. You happen to have a crayon on you. In the rear view, the phone rings. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Robert. Looks like we're having a little issue here today with Zoom bombing, and it's that's
Good.
okay. So Ron, you're up, and Vinny, you're on deck.
Yeah, I hate to do this to you, but can I also share screen?
Yeah, okay. Listen, I'm fine with this. I just want to remind everybody that the open mic is an open mic. It's not a feature, but I certainly would be happy to do that for you, Ron. Good, you're able to.
Okay, let me see. Okay. Blue, blue, blue is my love, present of the rise, vanishing quickly like the dove falling through the skies. Blue, blue, blue is my love, waking in the breeze, humming as she fades above her thousand revelees. Blue, blue, blue is my love, stolen by the rise, humming as she fades above her thousand lullabies. And I want to say, it's been my great fortune to have been in like 3 readings with Josephine the last couple of weeks, and there's nothing like it. She's a great reader.
She is absolutely terrific. I go right along with you on that one. Okay, Vinny, you're up, and Cone,
All
you're on
right.
deck.
Pick a number 1 to 6.
Let's stop.
Tony, pick a number 1 to 6.
4.
Okay, good choice. This is called Viva Magenta 18-750. It's the color of the year. I still see Ron up there. It's the
I'm
color
sorry.
of,
Hold on one second. You're absolutely right. I was looking to see, before I let anybody in, does anybody know a Jamie Smith? Nope. Okay, so we're not going to let Jamie Smith in, and we're going to get Vinny.
all right.
We're going to make you the spotlight. There you go. You're all good. You're all good.
Okay, it's called Viva Magenta. It's the color of the year for 2023. So the name of the poem is called Viva Magenta 18-750, color of the year for 2023, Live in the Blood. Viva Magenta 18-750 expresses the new style of strength. Carmine dye, leaning towards pink. Sink your teeth into this vermilion treat. A cardinal out on the lawn. A kitten poised. An embarrassment of riches. A royal flush. Kingly red. Ensconced the bedchamber in anger. The clock's face tips your hand. Long live the meadows. In cochineal shells. When reddened by the sun, your skin swells. Ruby-throated sparrow or hummingbird, it need not matter. Strawberries in the snow. An aged cat spotting on the floor. Nevermore. In the morning, you need to take warning. But at night, yes, the crimson delight. In the Santa suit, you can see it even when it's covered in milk and cookies and coal dust. The ripened fig bottom, seeing red, I blush. Not quite purple, just don't hold your breath. It's only a color, things never change much. Paint your front door red, it's all the rage. Welcome in the weary traveler from the road. Brave, fearless, pulsating pink, we think. You should gravitate to this bloody rose. At least, at last, see it in the suture as you close. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinny. Thank you. All right. So, Anne, you're on deck, and I'm sorry, Anne, you're up, and Bruce, you're on deck.
Okay, I have 3 Christmas Sanryu, so they're short, so I'll just repeat them. You say your presence is your present. That's a gift I'd like to return. You say your presence is your present. That's a gift I'd like to return. Naughty? No problem. Santa doesn't frighten me. I buy my own gifts. Naughty? No problem. Santa doesn't frighten me. I buy my own gifts. Corpses litter lawns. Are deflated ornaments ghosts of Christmas past? Corpses litter lawns. Are deflated ornaments ghosts of Christmas past?
Thank you. All right. Bruce, you're up, and Pim, you're on deck.
All right, thanks, Tony. Thanks, Josephine. Thanks, AA. Thanks, everyone, really. I hope you're having a happy holiday. This is called Chicken Man, and it's the absolutely true story about the time I was cast in a film to play an obese man who lost weight by eating nothing but chicken until he turned into a chicken himself. Back in those early years of prosthetic face masks, the costume people poured some sort of latex compound all over my face and my torso. And then they shoved 2 straws up my through the latex up my nostrils. Let me breathe. I couldn't see, but I could feel the crew hovering over me. I could hear them scratching a design of a chicken's head into the latex. Even with the holes cut from the straws, it was hard to breathe. But I'd only been an actor for a day or two, so I wasn't sure how to behave. After forever, or after about 2 or 3 minutes, the voice of the director screaming at everyone, "Stop, stop, take it off." So they ripped the latex off my, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, they ripped the latex off my hirsute chest, which they didn't really know how to do. And then they took the latex mold off my head, which was easier to do because somebody, and I am sure it was not me, had the presence of mind to provide a hairnet. Finally, I could see the director, the person who cast me after several extended auditions, pacing around this way and that, wagging a graduate student finger at me. "This will never do," he said. "You're supposed to be obese, and you are merely portly." and that's how I got fired from my first acting job. And a year or so later, doing some extra work on Kate and Alley, the gopher, the kid going for coffee, was my angry director. And I pretended not to know him.
All right. Thank you, my friend, and
Thank
happy
you.
Hanukkah.
You too, happy holidays.
Pim, you're up, and Marvin, you're on deck. Sorry, can't hear you, Pim.
Hello. Yeah,
Yep, gotcha.
perfect. I'm kind of new to writing poems, but I've wrote this one recently.
Okay.
Alone in a spooky town, I'm sad, so I frown. I threw all in a lightning bolt. I can't.
Okay. Well, I think Pim was our Pim was our fun for the evening. That's okay. That's maybe it starts him on a great poetry career, and someday he's on the steps of the Library of Congress, and he'll remember this evening. So I should have called on him earlier, called his bluff. But all right, so Marvin, you're up, and Doreen, you're on deck.
Tony, I have 2 questions. Could you hear me?
Marvin, I can always hear you.
And 2, could you tell me why my image doesn't appear on the screen? Is it because it says Marvin's iPad instead of my name?
It's because I think it's because you're just too friggin' handsome for these cameras, Marvin.
Okay, I guess that's it.
I honestly don't know what's going on your end, but we can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay, it's called Uprooted. Is this a hair I see before me, mocking me from the sink to which it has fallen? Now I am completely shorn, not by my hand, but by nature of my genes, as it lies there in the basin. Do I turn the faucet on and wash it from my eyes to punish it for its betrayal of my scalp, or do I rescue it and place it in an album or in a frame like baby's first cut lock? My friend Harry has hair for an army, gray, yes, but standing tall and proud, a mane fit for a guard. And yet here I am, defrocked of what many consider one's manliness. I see myself in this bathroom mirror as a lad with golden hair, one with a flip at the front. How handsome, how grand. And this dissolves and what appears but a young man starting his career, already combing his hair in a frenzied manner to cover what is no longer there. Now the middle-aged one appears, and he is bald except for sideburns and a tuft at the back. Now I see the elderly man's fallen strand, stranded in the porcelain. Revenge? Wash it down with all the heat I could muster? Or has it revenged itself on me? Cool in its smugness of victory? A toupee? A weave? Minoxidil? No, I know what was mine. I feel rape looking part of me. I feel rape losing part of me. Face up, old chap. Be a man. Was that me or the mirror talking? The mirror doesn't lie. You still look good, not Cary Grant good, but you'll do, you'll serve. Oh, well, my hair is gone, but I'm still here.
Thank you, Marvin. Thank you very much. All right. Doreen, Doreen, you're up, and Larry McCoy, you're on deck.
Okay. Josephine and Abe, it was just wonderful poetry tonight. Everybody, it's just been grand. And I think it was Josephine that read a poem about the solstice. So here is mine, called Solstice. Origin from Latin solstitium, from sol meaning sun, and stit meaning stopped, stationary. Stopped, stationary. I lie here and wonder, if I don't move, will the planet stand still? Suns rise and plummet down too soon. Vampires can't get a decent day's sleep. Bears, settled in for the winter rest, turn me unseasonably green with envy. I wake tired some mornings, give myself a gift of extra time in bed, envying the bear. Consider biting your neck, then sleeping the day away, stationary, stopped, rested. But the nights might be a bitch, too old for those bloody shenanigans, and I'd miss watching the sunrise, too tired to live forever. I'll make the bite gentle, try not to wake you from your peaceful sleep, watch you, wait for you to come alive. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. Thank you very much. All right. Larry McCoy, you're up, and Diane Wilbon Parks, you're on deck.
This is a shortened version of something I had in Newsday yesterday. I know of no American household that's ever put up a Christmas tree, a real one anyway, without a good amount of effort, argument, and swearing. The Christmas tree stand we've used for years has 4 rods that must be screwed into the trunk of the tree. Some years, the screwing has been tighter than others. One year, my turning of the rods was so inadequate that after we got all the lights and ornaments on the tree, it fell over. Usually, after I think I've tightened things, I ask Irene to let go of the tree. And the first words I hear are, "It's crooked." Back on the floor I go while swearing. Once the tree is erect, or nearly so, is someone developing a Viagra for Christmas trees? Lights are strung. Even after you test every strand beforehand, somehow at least one of them doesn't work when you wrap it around the tree. If you try to sneak in a strand of white lights when all the other strands are colored lights, or vice versa, the tree warden at my residence speaks up, making clear there will be no mixing of different colored lights in this house. Yes, ma'am. In a moment of weakness, I agreed to a fake tree one year. Never again. A real Christmas tree stays with you for months, long after all the presents have been exchanged. You keep finding fine needles on the floor, on the rug, on the front porch until at least the 4th of July. Not to mention the needles in the cargo pants you were wearing the day the tree went up. That's it.
Thank you, as always.
Thank you.
Let's listen to you read all day. All right. Who did I say was on deck? Oh, Diane's on deck, and MT, sorry, Diane, you're up, and MT, you're on deck.
Okay. I am recovering from COVID, so It's okay. I'm going to read a new poem that I wrote. It is called Shut. I clutch my chest for the ones who have left, for the ones who could not love without frustration, who could not kiss the sweet air with full lips, who were brought in without ever knowing war would come, without ever seeing the other sun. I tremble when I think of innocence being imprisoned and love restricted, like vines meant to cradle and capture, to hide and suffocate. The ones who have left will never carry freedom in their throat or see the other moon. Their tongues pinned to an unbearable silence, the slow, rotting ache that disagreed with its scab, its life, where the clutching vine and field flowers grow underneath the ash, a brown skin, and the lovable mouths threaded shut. That's it. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. MT, you're up, and Ro, you're on deck.
All right. I'm MT Paridi, and this piece is called The Other Side of True. Seeking out some stimulation, anything to change the station, mental form of mastication, in my mind a conflagration. Warring nations, warring worlds, warring swine war over pearls, warring all the boys and girls, warring flowers won't unfurl. Rocks are hurled, stones are thrown, crash the house of glass I own, all of my true colors shown, has left me sad and all alone. Entertain myself with silence, try to fill the void, ascertain why there's such violence and everything's destroyed. All I wanted, needed, sought was a way out of my head, but I'm taunted, pleading, caught in all the things you said. I play them back on repeat, a road I always tread, walking, talking with myself, wishing I were dead. So fed up with feeling faint, no head up, no holy saint. Oh, erupt, you can't be tamed. Go, enough, I am to blame. That's why I came back to the page, to find a way out of the rage, to possibly try to assuage the boredom that's become my cage. Can't engage without distractions from the voices splitting fractions, all the actions I can take to stay on track, secure and safe from all the things that feel so fake and leave me bobbing in their wake. So have some cake and eat it too. Celebrate we made it through to the other side of true, where I'm okay and so are you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if we've met before, MT, but appreciate you coming down tonight. All right. Ro, you're up, and Sal, you're on deck.
Hi all, good evening, happy holidays. Josephine had a poem called 9:30. Mine should be called 2:30, but I'm calling it Expect the Unexpected, written December 14, 2022, but it happened a few weeks earlier, whatever I'm describing in the poem. Supposed to be a quiet time, 2:30 a.m., unless the buzzing noises in your head and our low carb in the body wakes you up. I'm an early riser. 2:30 a.m. too early, even for birds looking for worm. Regardless, feeling fresh, I was up. Reading seemed like a good option to kill time till my usual waking hour. One of the myriad books on the coffee table, Dr. Spencer's The Present. A freebie, like so much of my collection. Decide to give the book a shot. It seems to deal with life's present moment. The first lines in the insert, I quote, "When you want to be happy and successful, focus on what is right now. Respond to what is important now," close quote. An unexpected, important now presents itself out of nowhere. A disturbing buzz. Then what looks like an overfed housefly flits by. I'm spooked. Put the book down, get up, open the glass door of the close-by showcase. The intruder goes in. I shut the door. Feel guilty, but have no other solution. Sit down, read, sit down to read. Weird sounds from the outside, indecipherable. Does not look like reading is in the cards. Lay away the book, lie down on the couch. Within seconds, loud buzzing, like from a spaceship or a swarm of swirling flies. I imagine that the trapped dipteran has invited his army of friends to attack me. I'm convinced the ferocious flies will get tired soon and shut up or drop dead. Not happening. Leave the couch for the bed. Next morning, no fly in the showcase. The bugger must have escaped through the gap where the hinges. Or maybe he dropped dead. An adventurous night. A writer never has to search for material. What could be better than meeting an oversized fly at 2:30 a.m.? And thank you.
Thank you very much, Ro. Appreciate it. All right, Sal, you're up, and then JR, you're going to close out the year for us.
Cool. Thanks, Tony. Yeah, so I was driving the first hour, but I actually love driving and listening to the work, and Josephine and AA, I didn't get to comment because, like I said, I was driving, but such great visual imagery, and I love the weaving of science and myth. It was fantastic. Thank you, guys. And the great thing about Zoom, Tony, is when I get home and I switch, Zoom somehow knows and it switches to the PC, but I lose all those chats, but no, oh well. So here's what I read normally this time of year. So apologies if anyone's heard this, because I feel like I read this last year, maybe at this forum, but it's called "It Twas the Night Before." A few more gulps, then lay the cup back onto its saucer, saving some for the crafted and cunning simulacrum as I saunter about without stirring the sleeping house. You can always pour more, you can't pour less, but for his unquenchable thirst and imaginary hunger into the bottomless dusk of a wreath-roused jaunt, let us forego the house rules for one night. Next to the saucer, a side dish of half-eaten cookies to facilitate the scam and provide convincing evidence of a personage making his unseen but invited entry into our home to go whipping around the room, wisps of miracle trailing his red visage like a tripping comet after streaking reckless through his sky to find himself elbow deep in strangers' stockings. All for the purpose of abetting the abided ritual to its brought morning with wide-eyed, childish gazes, their astonishment and exhilaration clambering down the stairs in two-step stride, gauging their giddy delight and laughter as transaction to meet our mounting satisfaction, insinuating ourselves into the complicit con, conspired and committed as the sweet and creamy flavor lingers from the corroborating mustache left by the eggnog I chugged last night and lick from my lips. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Sal. Appreciate it very much. Well, this has certainly been an interesting year. We've had worse. We've had better. But I'm going to ask Judy to bring it on home for us, and you're on.
Thank you. Thank you, Josephine. Thank you, AA. Thank you all. Especially thank you, Tony. So I'm going to read a Christmas poem that is not my Christmas 2022. All roads lead to Christmas. Christmas will pass me by on the holiday highway, creeping along the shoulder of Procrastination Boulevard, refusing to turn off to belated lane. I race my engines with 7-Eleven high test pedal to the metal, to the mall, zigzagging a thoroughfare of dazed shoppers, trailing from boutiques to department stores, stalling at kiosks along the route. I'm determined not to cross the finish line last, topping my cart with listed gifts, bopping crosswords of aisles, a kringle with seasonal greetings, shopping candy cane lanes ablaze in twinkling lights, stopping at St. Anthony's, dropping to knees before the manger, follow the path of prayer to make this Christmas the best ever. Expressway traffic is a viaduct of red lights blinking on, off, turn off to a turnpike of green lights for miles, smiles as late shoppers breeze the byways to get just one more gift before the stores close on Christmas Eve. Blazing star guides me home to wrap, carols playing, my heart a jingle with a Christmas tingle of finishing on time. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. As we close out this year, let's keep our friend Mark Rosen and his family in our thoughts and prayers. I want to thank, I certainly want to thank Josephine and AA for a wonderful, wonderful reading. AA appreciate, especially on such short notice. I will be sending out the rest of the schedule as soon as I apologize. It's been a little bit crazy, but I will get to it. If you have not put in the ask to read, please do so. I do give preference to those who show up at these things, as I think it should be. But I want to thank you all. I want to thank you very much for a wonderful year. I want to thank everybody for the support of the Oceanside Library. And I want to wish you all a joyous holiday season and a happy and very healthy new year. So good night, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. It's wonderful.
Happy holidays. See you soon.
Thank you.
Holidays.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Stay healthy.
Bye.